Hello, dear teachers. Welcome to the KTP once again. I hope this experience has been really enriching and actually provides a great professional growth in your academic life. This video is to talk about assessment in the KTP and to clarify certain things about it. So let's check the objectives. We have two objectives for this video. The first one is to identify the different types and moments of assessment in the KTP. And second, to establish the difference between assessment and correction, because it's something that we normally see in the classes that we visit. And ideally, we need to correct that. So let's start. I want you to please stop this video, pause it, and answer this question. What is assessment? What is assessment for you? Write a definition about it, and now we are going to see the real definition to see if you have it correct. So please pause the video in this moment and come up with your own definition. Okay, now that you have your definition, this is the definition that I found, and it's extremely nice. I mean, for me, it's saying the whole thing. Assessment is the act of collecting information about individuals or group of individuals to better understand them. What do I have from this definition? First, information. We need to collect information, which is evidence about our students, about individuals. We have large groups sometimes, and we have small groups as well. So we need to collect specific information about each one of them. Why? To understand them. That is the real idea of assessment. We need to understand our students, and that is what we do here at Colombo. Understand them and identify their needs, identify their strengths, but also their weaknesses, so that we can tell them how to deal with these weaknesses and see an improvement in them. So, first I'm going to explore the types of assessment. The first one, we have two, like general, there are more, and in more books you will find more information, but I wanted to show you only these two. Formative assessment is when we monitor students' progress and provide meaningful feedback to help improve their performance. So formative assessment is basically what we do in every single class at Colombo. We are, if you notice, we teachers are all the time telling them, okay, be careful with this, be careful with that. I listened to you and you were saying this, and please try to correct this. Yes, that is formative assessment. What they do, the peer assessment, self-assessment, all of that is what we try to encourage a lot here. But we also have summative assessment. What is that? It is when we determine students' achievements by using exams to measure their performance. So basically we also have quizzes, because we need to assess and show the written part as well. We have the written reports, we have the homework, but we also have the other part that is like the video. This video is gonna show you a better idea about it. So what types of assessment do we use here in the KTP? As I mentioned before, we use formative assessment and we use also summative assessment. In this video I'm gonna focus only on formative assessment, and in the summative assessment you will see it with in the other session. So the types that we can use in the KTP are self-assessment, peer assessment, group assessment, teacher assessment. I'm gonna go over each one of them to give you an idea of them. So the moments, basically we have established only two moments, task and objectives. If you want to include more, feel free to do it, but we strongly recommend you to only focus on those two moments for assessment, because they have to be very meaningful, they have to be reflective, they have to include many things. So ideally only these two moments, and remember that we need to include other things. We need to include learning strategies and many communicative things. So ideally focus on only these two moments, task and objectives. Let's start analyzing each one of them. Self-assessment. Self-assessment, as you know, is when students get the chance to analyze and reflect upon their own performance. In this moment, students, remember that in the task, for example, you show them the criteria before, they perform, and during their performance they have to be thinking about their own way of doing things. So what are my mistakes here? What am I doing correctly here? Yes, those kind of reflections is what we need and expect from them when they are doing self-assessment. Then they get to the moment when they actually reflect and think about their process and think about the development of the task and how the things were done. So they have to come up with ideas like, okay, yes, I have problems in pronunciation in this specific sound, or I have problems in this use of grammar, but my listening is perfect. I understood everything. Yes, so they have to provide their own conclusions about their own process, and you have to give them time for that, because sometimes we see that time is a problem that we have in this moment of assessment. So let them analyze their own process, let them come up with ideas, and if you notice that they, for example, don't have ideas about what action plan can be implemented, provide them the action plans. For example, for the listening, you can do this, you can go to this website, you can do this extra activity on the platform. For the grammar, you probably can print some worksheets, but very short activities. Remember that this is only something extra for them to practice. So that is ideally what we have to do, and we will discuss about it in this session. This is only to explain the basic things. Okay, let's continue with peer assessment. Students get the chance to analyze their classmates' performance and give them a meaningful feedback. So in the previous assessment, it was more about self-reflection. In this one, it's about analyzing the other, listening to the other, and be critic enough, but in a good way. And telling them, okay, you have these specific great things. Your pronunciation is great, your listening, I notice that you understand what I am saying. However, you need to work on this, this, and this. Specifically, I know that it is very difficult with beginner students, but we can do it. We can train them on that. So don't give up on that, and try to give them very nice peer assessment moments so that students can get the chance to actually receive feedback from their peers and give feedback to their peers. And that is the idea of the feedback. It has to be very meaningful, and they have to have a reflective moment. Okay, based on the results that they get in the peer assessment, like, okay, my partner told me this, again, action plan. What is the action plan? I will do this activity to improve my grammar. I will do this activity to practice my listening. Okay, let's move on. Group assessment. This is not a very common assessment, but we can do it. We can try it. It depends on the group as well. So this is about students analyzes the performance of the they work in groups, and they analyze the performance of the other group and give them feedback as a group. Honestly, I would rather to go for peer and self-assessment, but this is another cool option that you can try, of course, in small groups, not 5 people or 4. No, let's try to make it in small groups so that they all have, but try to establish roles. Each one is in charge of something specific so that they can collect, and the feedback, is really meaningful in this assessment. Okay, and we have teacher assessment. Teacher assessment is a constant varied assessment that helps students correct mistakes immediately. So ideally, we have to be doing teacher assessment all the time, during the whole class, in a conversation. So during the warm-up, they are speaking, and they are having, and you listen to these mistakes. Go to the board, write the mistake, and when they sit down, tell them, okay, I was listening to you and you were having these issues. Be careful, it's not this, it's this. You are in the task and you listen to Juanita, and Juanita was saying all the time, hey, how are you? I'm great. And you tell her, Juanita is not great, it's great. Yes, those are teacher assessment moments. You are all the time giving them constant feedback so that they know what to improve and they know that they are being heard by you and that you are actually paying attention to their process. All the time we need to do teacher assessment. So when they are writing in an exercise, go and monitor. We need to monitor them all the time. So that is why it is a student-centered class, because they need to be the center of the class and we are just there to guide them and to give them feedback when necessary. Okay, let's move on. I have here some tips. Tips for the assessment in the task and tips for the assessment in the objectives. So the tips that I give you in this part, in the task, is first, criteria. The criteria has to be clear and short. It has to show, you have to show it before they start speaking. Remember that it is very important for them to know what they're going to be assessed about, and actually what they're going to assess is if it is peer assessment, self-assessment. They have to assess. And it has to be varied, not always the same. Don't always include happy faces and sad faces or numbers, or try to make it different. Try to include some variety. And also not only self-assessment, no. Try to mix them with the other options that we have. Number 2, feedback and reflection. It has to be completely meaningful. They have to have a moment when they give feedback, when they interact, when they reflect about their process, and it has to be communicative. When it is a self-assessment, of course it doesn't have to be communicative, but it has to be very, very meaningful. They have to reflect upon their process and performance, of course. The last one is action plans. Establish very specific action plans, and they have to be extremely useful, because if we tell them go to this website and then we don't ask them did you do it, we need to do a follow-up, and so that it becomes useful. And they have to be very specific, not something extremely general. Go to lyricstraining.com and that's it. No, look for this specific song. Okay, so try to give them very nice action plans. In regards to the objectives, be careful with the time. So it is very common to run out of time, so please don't forget this last step. At the end of the class, we need to have the assessment of the objectives, because students need to check. We need to check if students really achieved, or if we all achieved the objectives of the class. While you are doing this assessment, you need to include elicitation. So ask information questions. No, did we do this? No. When did we do it? Or give me examples, or what things did you learn today? Yes, something that is very clear for you, that they understood and they achieved the objectives that you established. And finally, use the objectives as a transition. That is a very nice recommendation, because you can kill actually a lot of birds with the same stone. We need to refer to objectives. If you check the checklist, we need to refer to the objectives during the class. So use them as a transition, and assess them while you do that. You can save time, because at the end you don't have to be in a hurry trying to assess objectives, because you had already done it. So these are basically my recommendations. I will tell you very quickly about correction versus assessment. Correction is great in finding wrong and right answers in students' work, but assessment requires analysis and feedback, so they are not the same. Correction is not assessment. Be careful with that. That is a last tip that I give you. And guys, this is your assignment, so please pause the video and check the assignment for our session that we are going to have. So please do it, print it, and take it to the session, and I'll see you there. I hope this video helps you a lot. If you have questions, you have here my email, so that you can contact me at any moment and I can help you out with things. I know this week is being really hard, but very meaningful in your process. So see you around and take care.